The night market was alive with noise. Bright lamps hung above the stalls, smoke and steam rising from alien food carts. Traders shouted, offering fruits, cloth, and strange glowing liquids. Many different races moved through the crowd, bargaining and laughing. But in one corner, hidden in the shadows, there was no laughter, only the sound of a child crying. The human, a traveler passing through the market, heard it first. It was not an ordinary cry. It was sharp, desperate, and filled with fear. He turned his head and saw a small alien child with pale skin and large glassy eyes. The child's hands trembled as she tugged at the cloak of strangers who passed, begging them to look, but no one stopped. Some pushed her away. Others hissed and whispered words in their own tongue, shaking their heads. The human frowned and stepped closer. He saw the child kneeling beside a woman lying on the cold ground. Her body was shaking violently, her chest rising and falling in ragged gasps. Her skin glistened with sweat, and her eyes were half closed as if she was fighting to stay alive. The child's small voice broke through the noise. "Please, somebody help my mom. She won't stop shaking, please." But the crowd moved around them like water flowing past a stone. No one dared to stop. In fact, some looked frightened just being near the woman. The human knelt beside them. "What happened to her?" he asked softly. The child's wide eyes filled with tears. "She's sick. She's been shaking for days. No one will help us. They say she's cursed." The human looked up. Several merchants stood nearby watching with cold eyes. One muttered, "She carries death. Touch her, and you will be taken, too." Another spat on the ground. "Better let her die. The child will follow soon enough." The child sobbed harder, clutching her mother's hand. "Please, mister, don't let her die." The human's chest tightened. He remembered his younger sister back on Earth lying in bed the same way, her body shaking from a terrible fever. She had died because no one had medicine in time. He still remembered how powerless he had felt, standing beside her bed as she slipped away. And now, here in this strange world, he saw the same sight, the same fear in a child's eyes. He could not walk away. "Move aside," he said firmly, pushing his bag off his shoulder. The crowd muttered angrily, warning him again. "You'll curse yourself too, human." But he ignored them. The woman's body trembled violently under his touch. Her skin was burning hot, yet she shivered as if frozen. He took a cloth from his bag, soaked it with water, and pressed it to her forehead. Her breathing was shallow, uneven, but she stirred faintly at the touch. The child looked at him with desperate hope. "Can you fix her?" The human's voice was calm, though inside he felt the weight of fear. "I don't know yet, but I won't leave her like this." The crowd began whispering louder. Some even laughed. "Foolish human. He thinks he can fight death itself." Others stepped back as if distance would keep them safe. But still they watched, curiosity battling with their fear. The human leaned close to the woman. Her lips were cracked, her voice faint, almost lost in the night air. "Save her," she whispered, eyes flicking weakly toward her child. Then her body shook harder, and she coughed painfully. The child clutched her mother's arm tightly. "Please, Mom, stay with me, don't go." Her small voice broke, shattering the human's heart. He quickly checked her pulse. It was faint, irregular. He knew she did not have much time. His bag had a few basic medical supplies, but nothing special. Yet doing nothing was worse. He began working, wiping her skin, giving her small sips of clean water, rubbing her arms to keep her warm. Still, her trembling would not stop. The child looked into his face with wide, wet eyes. "You're the only one who stopped. Everyone else hates us. Why are you helping?" The human paused for a moment, meeting her gaze. "Because someone has to." Those words seemed to hang in the air, heavy and powerful. Even the crowd fell quiet for a heartbeat. But then someone shouted, "He will doom us all. He touches the cursed." The fear spread again. People began moving back, leaving a wide circle around them. The human and the alien child now stood, Alone with the mother's trembling body between them, the child held tightly to his arm. "Don't let her die, please, you're our only hope." The human tightened his grip on his bag. He felt the eyes of the crowd burning into him, judging him, condemning him. But he also felt the weight of the child's trust. And he knew, in that moment, whatever it cost him, he could not walk away. He whispered to the child, "Then I will try. For her, and for you." And as the woman's body shook more violently, the human prepared himself to do the impossible. The market grew quieter as word spread. A human had touched the sick woman. To many aliens, it was not an act of kindness but a dangerous crime. Some shopkeepers pulled down their shutters. Others whispered, shaking their heads, while children were hurried away by their parents. The human ignored their stares. He stayed close to the trembling mother, checking her weak pulse, trying to cool her burning skin with cloth. The little alien child sat beside him, wiping her own tears with her sleeve. "She's been like this for days," the child said softly. Her voice cracked with exhaustion. "I begged for help. No one would even give us food or water. They said she was cursed. They said we should leave the colony." The human looked at the child carefully. "And where is your father?" The child shook her head slowly. "Gone. Long ago. It's only us now." Her eyes glistened with fresh tears. The human's jaw tightened. He glanced around. Every alien who passed gave him the same look, fear mixed with disgust. To them, the woman was already dead, her body a warning of sickness. To them, helping her meant sharing her fate. One of the merchants stepped closer, his face twisted with anger. "Human, leave her. She will not survive. If you touch her, you will bring doom upon yourself and all of us." The human stood up, facing him. "She's still breathing. She's alive. That's enough for me." The merchant sneered. "Alive? For now. But soon her curse will spread, and then what? Will you take responsibility for the deaths that follow?" The child clung to the human's hand, her tiny fingers trembling. "Please, don't leave us. You're the only one who cares." The human bent down, patting her head gently. His heart ached at her words. He had seen fear in many forms, on battlefields in ruined cities, but this small voice carried more pain than any of those memories. The woman groaned weakly. Her body trembled again, violent and uncontrolled. Her lips moved, but no words came out. She coughed harshly, blood staining the edge of her mouth. The child gasped and tried to wipe it away with her sleeve. "Mom, please stay with me. Please." The human felt the crowd closing in again. More whispers, more warnings. "She's doomed. She will take him with her." Foolish human. But he blocked out the noise. He remembered his sister's last day, how helpless he had been watching her fade away. He would not watch that happen again. Not if he could fight it. "Come on," he said suddenly, lifting the woman carefully into his arms. She was light, far too light, her bones sharp under her skin. The child gasped. "Where are you taking her?" "To someone who can help. There must be healers here." The child's eyes widened with hope, but the crowd reacted with fear. Two guards stepped forward, tall armored figures with sharp spears. "You cannot bring her inside the healer's hall," one of them barked. "Our law forbids it. The cursed are not treated." The human's eyes narrowed. "She's not cursed. She's sick, and sick people need help." The other guard shook his head. "She is beyond help. If you carry her through those doors, you break our law. You risk the safety of everyone in this colony." The child ran to the guards, falling to her knees. She clutched their armor plates, her voice breaking. "Please, please let him save my mom. She's all I have left." The guards looked down at her, but their expressions did not change. One of them pushed her gently away. "Child, it is mercy that she goes quickly. Let go." The girl's sobs grew louder. She buried her face in her small hands, shaking as hard as her mother did. The human's anger burned hot. He held the mother tighter and stepped forward. "Then your law is wrong. he said, his voice steady and cold. Gasps rose from the crowd. Defying alien law was no small thing, yet he walked forward, the trembling woman in his arms, the child clinging to his side. Each step felt heavy, not just from the weight of the woman, but from the eyes of hundreds who watched. "Stop him," someone shouted. "He will bring the sickness into the hall." But no one moved. The guards shifted uncertainly, spears still in hand, yet the fire in the human's eyes made them hesitate. He did not look like a fool now. He looked like someone who had already decided, someone who could not be turned back. The child's voice carried through the silence, small but piercing. "Don't take her away from me, please. She's my mom." The human's grip tightened. He looked at her, then at the guards. His voice was quiet, but everyone heard it. "If she dies, it won't be because I did nothing." The guards lowered their spears. Slowly, step by step, the human walked past them into the healer's hall. Behind him, the crowd erupted, some crying out in fear, others whispering in shock. The law had been broken. The cursed had been carried inside. But to one small child, none of that mattered. She held the human's sleeve tightly, hope flickering in her eyes for the first time in days. And in that moment, the human became more than just a stranger. To her, he became the only lifeline left in a world that had already abandoned them. The healer's hall was cold and silent. Tall stone walls curved upward, carved with glowing symbols. The smell of herbs and smoke hung heavy in the air. A few alien healers stood at a distance, their faces hidden behind masks. When they saw the human carrying the trembling woman, they froze. One healer raised a hand sharply. "Stop. Put her down at once. She cannot be treated. She is already chosen by death." The human ignored the command. He laid the woman gently on a wooden cot, her body jerking with violent tremors. The little alien child rushed to her side, holding her mother's hand tightly. "Please," the child begged, her voice breaking. "You have medicines, don't you? Help her." But the healers shook their heads, their voices were flat cold. "We will not risk the safety of the hall. If we touch her, the sickness will spread. Better for her to leave this world quickly." The human's eyes burned with anger. "You call yourselves healers, yet you refuse to heal. What good is your hall, your herbs, if you let a mother die in front of her child?" The healers did not answer. They stepped back, keeping their distance, as if even the air around the woman was poison. The child sobbed, clinging to her mother's hand. "Don't let her go, mister. Please don't let her go." The human knelt beside the cot, wiping sweat from the woman's forehead. Her lips were dry, cracked. Her chest rose and fell in uneven gasps. He could feel her slipping away, each tremor worse than the last. His hands shook as he opened his bag. Inside were only a few supplies. Clean water, cloth, some herbs he had traded for on another planet. Nothing special. Nothing powerful enough for this. But he had no choice. He poured water slowly into her mouth, but most of it spilled down her chin. She coughed weakly, her whole body jerking. The child panicked. "She's choking." "Easy," the human said firmly, tilting the woman's head, rubbing her back gently. He gave her smaller sips, letting her swallow a little at a time. The tremors did not stop, but at least her breathing steadied for a moment. The crowd outside the hall had gathered at the windows, watching. Their whispers seeped inside like a storm. "He's wasting his time. She's cursed. No human can fight that. They will all die in there." The human tried not to listen. He focused only on the woman and her child. He took one of the herbs from his bag, crushed it into powder, and mixed it with water. Carefully, he pressed it against her lips. At first, she did not move. Then slowly, she swallowed. Her body shook harder. She coughed violently, her chest heaving. The child screamed, "What's happening? You're hurting her." The human gritted, his teeth. "No, her body is fighting. That means she's still alive." But inside, he was unsure. He had never treated this kind of sickness before. His training on Earth had been simple, basic survival medicine. Nothing prepared him for alien fevers that burned like fire and froze the skin at the same time. Still, He refused to stop. The woman's eyes opened for a second. They were glassy, unfocused, but they turned toward the sound of her daughter's voice. Her lips moved weakly. No sound came out, but the child understood. She whispered back, "I'm here, Mom. I won't leave you." The human swallowed hard. The scene tore at him. He remembered sitting beside his sister's bed, holding her hand the same way, whispering words she could barely hear. He remembered, the moment her hand went still, the life gone from her eyes. He would not let this child face that same moment. The tremors grew worse. The woman's body jerked so violently that she nearly rolled off the cot. The human held her down gently, trying not to hurt her. "Stay with us," he whispered. "Don't give up." Her breathing became shallow, each breath shorter than the last. Her pulse weakened under his fingers. Panic pressed against his chest. He looked at the child, her face pale, her small body shaking with fear. Is she dying?" the child asked in a trembling voice. The human could not answer. His silence was enough to make the child cry harder. "No, you can't let her die. You promised." Her words cut deep. He had promised, and he meant it. He would not give up, not even now. He tore open his bag, pulling out a small vial of medicine from Earth. It was meant for human fevers, not alien sickness. It could help, or it could kill her faster. The healers watching from the shadows spoke sharply. "Do not use your strange liquids. You will destroy her." The human looked at the vial in his hand, then at the child, then at the woman struggling to breathe. His mind raced. If he did nothing, she would die within hours. If he used it, maybe, just maybe, there was a chance. The child grabbed his sleeve, eyes filled with desperate hope. "Please, try. You're the only one who can." The human's jaw tightened. His hands shook as he prepared the injection. Sweat dripped from his forehead. He whispered to himself, "Don't fail me now." The crowd outside banged on the doors, shouting warnings. The healers backed even farther away. The child buried her face in her mother's chest, whispering, "Please live, Mom. Please live." And as the human pressed the needle into the woman's arm, silence fell. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then her body convulsed violently. Her eyes flew open, her chest heaving. The child screamed, holding her tighter. The human's heart pounded in his ears. Had he saved her? Or had he just made everything worse? The woman's violent convulsions slowly began to ease. Her breathing was ragged but steadier than before. The child lifted her head, eyes wide, with hope. She's breathing better," the child whispered, clutching her mother's hand. The human exhaled heavily, relief mixing with fear. He didn't know if the earth medicine would hold, or if the woman's body would reject it later. But for now she was alive, and that was enough. From outside the healer's hall came the angry roar of voices. The crowd had grown larger. Alien faces pressed against the windows, fear and hatred burning in their eyes. "He used his cursed liquids. He brings doom to us all. Throw them out before it spreads." The human glanced at the doors. He knew the calm would not last. The alien's fear was stronger than reason, and fear always led to violence. The child clung to him. "They don't want us here. They'll take her away from me." He knelt, meeting her frightened eyes. "Listen to me. No matter what happens, don't let go of your mother's hand. Stay close to me." The doors burst open. Guards stormed in, their metal spears gleaming under the hall's dim lights. Behind them, the crowd pushed and shouted, voices like thunder. One guard pointed his spear at the human. "Step away from her. You break our law. You endanger us all." The human stood tall, his voice calm but firm. "She's alive. Look at her. She's not a curse. She's a mother fighting to live." The guard sneered. "Alive for now, but sickness spreads like fire. If we allow this, the whole colony could burn." The crowd shouted louder, stamping their feet. Fear twisted into rage. "Out! Out! Out!" The child's cries pierced the chaos. "Please, she's getting better. Don't take her." But the guards did not care. They stepped closer, spears lowering. The healers stood far in the shadows, saying nothing, refusing to help. The human realized he was truly alone. His grip tightened on his bag. His voice cut through the noise. "If you want to harm her, you'll have to go through me first." The guards hesitated. A human, unarmed, standing against armored warriors. Yet there was something in his eyes, a fire that made even the boldest pause. The child clung to his side, trembling. "They'll kill you," she whispered. "Then I'll stand until I can't," the human replied quietly. The woman on the cot stirred faintly, her trembling weaker now. Her lips moved, a whisper lost in the chaos. But the child heard it. "She's calling me," she said, leaning closer. "She's still here." The crowd grew more furious. Stones were thrown at the walls, fists pounded on the doors. "Cursed, cursed," they chanted. The human raised his voice. "Look at her. Look with your own eyes. She is not cursed. She is alive. She is fighting. And none of you, lifted a hand to help her." The hall went silent for a heartbeat. The crowd wavered, caught between fear and shame. But then an elder stepped forward, his face lined with age and pride. His voice was sharp like a blade. "Human, you know nothing of our ways. We do not fight death. We accept it. If you resist it, you resist our law, our tradition. You insult us all." The human met his gaze. "Then your law is wrong. Where I come from, we fight for every life. We don't abandon mothers in front of their children." The elder's eyes narrowed. His words rang like a final sentence. "Then you are an enemy of this colony." The guards stepped closer, spears ready. The child screamed, holding her mother's hand tight. "Please don't take her. Please don't hurt him." The human's heartbeat thundered in his chest. He had faced battlefields, but never a crowd this hostile, never an entire world against him. Yet he refused to step aside. He spread his arms, shielding the woman and child behind him. "If you want them, you'll have to strike me first." The hall froze. No one expected a human to speak such words. No one expected him to stand against an entire crowd. The guards exchanged uneasy glances. Striking him would mean war with the humans, war their colony could not survive. Yet letting him defy their law would shame them before their people. The elder raised his hand, ready to give the order. The crowd held its breath. At that very moment, the woman coughed weakly, her voice breaking the silence. "Daughter," the child gasped. She leaned close. "Mom, you're awake." Her eyes fluttered open, weak but alive. Her trembling had slowed. She reached for her child's cheek, her lips forming a fragile smile. The entire hall fell silent. Even the guards lowered their spears slightly. The crowd outside murmured in disbelief. The elder's voice cracked, anger faltering. "Impossible." The human bent down, speaking softly. "You see, she is no curse. She is living proof that you were wrong." The child cried tears of joy, hugging her mother tightly. The woman's weak arm curled around her daughter. The sight pierced through the fear in many hearts. Some of the crowd looked away, ashamed. Others whispered uncertainly, but not everyone was convinced. Fear still lingered. The elder's eyes burned with rage at being proven wrong. "This is not over," he spat. "You have defied us. You will pay for it." The human stood firm. "Then I'll pay, but I won't let her die." The crowd roared again, torn between anger and awe. Some demanded his punishment. Others stared, in silence, shaken by what they had witnessed. And in the middle of it all, a fragile mother clung to life, her child clutching her hand, while one human stood unbroken against an entire world. The healer's hall was still tense. Outside, the angry crowd pressed against the doors, shouting and demanding the human's punishment. Inside, the guards stood frozen, their spears still lowered but their eyes sharp, waiting for an order from the elder. The human ignored them, all. His focus was only on the woman lying on the cot, her child clinging to her hand. Her breathing was shallow, her face pale, but the violent trembling that had shaken her body earlier was weaker now. She was fragile, caught between life and death. He whispered to himself, "You're still here, don't give up." The child wiped tears from her cheeks and looked at him. She's awake, but she's still so weak. What if she slips away? Again? The human placed a steady hand on her shoulder. Then we fight harder. We don't stop. He opened his bag again, pulling out the few supplies he had left. A strip of cloth, a small bottle of antiseptic, and another vial from Earth. His last. His heart sank. He had almost nothing left to give. The healers, still standing far from the cot, finally spoke. One of them, an older woman with a voice like cracked stone, said, "You should stop now, human. She is not meant to live. Death has chosen her. If you force her body to fight longer, it will only bring pain." The human turned sharply, his voice firm. "Pain is better than giving up. She has a child who needs her. I will not let her go while there's still a chance." The healer shook her head. "You will learn that fighting death is useless." But he already knew what it meant to lose someone. He would not let it happen again. He worked quickly. He cleaned the blood from her lips, rubbed her arms and legs to keep her warm, and whispered small words of encouragement as if his voice could pull her back from the edge. The child copied him, stroking her mother's hand and whispering, "Stay with me, Mom, please, stay." The battle was silent but fierce. The woman's body shook less, but every now and then her chest would stop moving. Each time panic struck, the human's heart like a blade. He leaned close, checking her breath, pressing against her chest until she gasped again. Every second felt like walking on the edge of a cliff. Outside, the crowd's shouts grew louder. "Cast them out! She brings death to us all. End this before it spreads." The child flinched at the noise and pressed closer to her. "Mother, they hate us," she whispered. "They want her gone." The human's jaw tightened. "Let them hate. We don't need them. We just need her to live." Hours passed like that. The woman drifted in and out of consciousness, sometimes whispering broken words, sometimes falling still. Each time she stirred, the child's face lit up with hope. Each time she went quiet, fear crushed them both. The human used every bit of strength he had. He mixed herbs with water, hoping something would calm her fever. He cooled her burning skin with damp cloths. He checked her pulse again and again, counting each beat like a victory. But as dawn crept through the narrow windows of the hall, his hands began to tremble from exhaustion. His eyes burned, his muscles ached. He had not slept, not eaten. Still, he refused to stop. The child noticed his weariness. "You're tired, aren't you?" she asked softly. He gave a faint smile. "Tired doesn't matter, she matters." The woman stirred again. Her lips moved faintly. The human leaned close, catching a broken whisper. "Child." "She's calling me," the little girl gasped, clutching her mother's hand tighter. "I'm here, Mom, I'm here." A weak smile touched the woman's lips. The human felt a flicker of relief. It was small, fragile, but it meant she was still fighting. The guards shifted uneasily near the doorway. The elder had left, but his words still lingered in the hall. This is not over. The human knew the danger was far from gone. Even if he saved the woman, the colony might never forgive him for breaking their laws. But when he looked at the mother and child, he knew his choice was already made. The woman's trembling grew softer, but then suddenly her breathing stopped again. The child screamed, "She's not breathing!" The human's heart pounded. He pressed his hands against the woman's chest, forcing air into her lungs, pushing rhythmically. "Breathe," he whispered again and again. "Breathe." The silence stretched. The child sobbed into her mother's shoulder, and then, at last, the woman gasped. Her chest rose sharply, her body shuddered, and air rushed into her lungs. The child cried out in relief, hugging her mother tightly. "She's alive! She's alive!" The human sagged back, sweat dripping from his face. His hands shook from exhaustion, but his eyes stayed fixed on the woman. She was still dangerously weak, but every breath now was a small victory. The battle was far from over. It was a war against silence, a war against fear, a war against death itself. And in that hall, with only a child by his side, one human refused to surrender. The hall was quiet now except for the sound of the woman's weak breathing. Each rise and fall of her chest felt like a fragile thread, stretched thin between life and death. The child sat pressed against her mother, refusing to let go of her hand. The human knelt beside them, exhaustion heavy in his bones, but he did not stop watching her face. He had fought for hours, cooling her fever, forcing air into her lungs, keeping her heart from failing. But he knew she wasn't safe yet. At any moment, her body could break again. The little girl lifted her head, eyes red from crying. Is she going to live? The human hesitated. His throat felt tight, but he spoke firmly. She's still fighting. As long as she fights, we don't stop. The child nodded, clutching her mother's fingers. Then I'll fight with her. The human gave a faint smile, though inside his mind raced. He had only one vial of earth serum left. The first dose had slowed her shaking, but her body was still fragile. If he gave her the second, it might save her. Or it might be too much. The healers still stood far away, refusing to come closer. One of them muttered coldly, "Your efforts are wasted. Even if she wakes, she will not last." The human turned, sharply. "She will last, because I will not let her go." The child's small voice echoed his. "She will last, because we believe in her." Outside the hall, the crowd was restless. Their angry voices carried through the walls. "End this now. Throw them out before it's too late. Cursed, cursed." The human ignored them. He only had one choice left, the serum. His hands shook slightly as he pulled the vial from his bag. The child's eyes widened. "What is that?" "It's medicine," he said softly. "From my world. It helped her once. It may help her again." The girl's voice trembled. "But what if it hurts her?" The human looked at her honestly. "Then I'll be guilty of trying too hard, not of giving up." The child nodded slowly, her small face brave. "Do it, please. Don't let her die." The human prepared the injection, sweat dripping from his brow. His mind was filled with doubt, but his heart refused to let go. He leaned close to the woman. "Stay with us. This is your chance. Don't give up now." He pressed the needle into her arm. For a moment, nothing happened. Then her body convulsed violently, her back arching off the cot. The child screamed, hugging her mother tightly. "Mom! Mom, please!" The human gritted his teeth, holding her steady. "Fight it! Fight!" Her trembling grew wild, every muscle seizing. The child sobbed into her shoulder. "You're hurting her." "No," the human said firmly, his voice shaking. "Her body is fighting. That means she wants to live." The battle lasted minutes that felt like hours. Then suddenly the tremors began to ease. The woman's chest heaved once, twice, and then settled into a steady rhythm. Her body grew still, her face calmer. The child lifted her head slowly. She stopped shaking. The human checked her pulse, stronger, her skin still hot but no longer burning like fire. Her breathing, uneven but no longer gasping. Relief swept through him like a tide. He whispered, "It's working." The child's tears turned into laughter, broken but full of hope. She hugged her mother tightly. "She's really alive. You saved her." The woman stirred. Her eyelids fluttered open, her gaze unfocused at first. Then slowly her eyes settled on her daughter's face. Weakly she raised a trembling hand and touched the child's cheek. Her lips parted and a faint whisper came out. "My child." The girl cried harder, pressing her face into her mother's hand. "I'm here, Mom. I never left you." The woman's eyes filled with tears. Then she turned her gaze toward the human. Her lips trembled as she tried to form words. "Why, you?" she whispered. The human leaned close. His voice was gentle but steady. "Because your child needed you. And because no one deserves to be abandoned." Her eyes softened. For the first time since he had seen her, there was something in her expression other than pain. There was gratitude. The healers who had doubted him stared in stunned silence. One finally whispered, "Impossible." Another shook his head, refusing to believe. It cannot be. No human could do this. But the proof was before them. A woman who had been left for dead, now breathing, now holding her child, now whispering words of life. The crowd outside grew quiet as news spread. Murmurs replaced shouts. Some aliens still cursed his name, saying it was unnatural, but others lowered their heads, ashamed of their fear. The child turned to the human, her small hands grabbing his. "You're our lifeline. Without you, she would be gone. You saved us both." The human's throat tightened. He had not thought of himself as a savior, only a man who refused to walk away. But as he looked at the child's grateful eyes and the mother's fragile smile, he realized he had become exactly what they needed: hope in a world that had turned its back on them. And for the first time, he felt something stir deep in his chest. It was more than relief. It was a bond that tied him not just to this child and her mother, but to the promise that he would never let them face this world alone again. The first light of dawn crept through the tall windows of the healer's hall. Golden rays fell across the stone floor, cutting through the shadows of the long night. The mother lay on the cot, her chest rising and falling in a steady rhythm. For the first time in days, her body was still. The little girl had not left her side for even a moment. Her small fingers clung tightly to her mother's hand, her eyes red from sleepless tears but now filled with hope. She kept whispering softly, as if afraid the silence would take her mother back. "You're here, Mom. You're safe now, don't leave me again." The human sat close, exhaustion heavy in his bones. His clothes were stained with sweat, his hands trembling from the hours of struggle. But in his heart there was a quiet satisfaction. He had done it. She was alive. The mother stirred. Slowly her eyes opened, weak but clear. She turned her head toward her daughter and gave the faintest of smiles. Then, with great effort, she looked at the human. Her voice was soft, cracked, but filled with meaning. "Why did you save me?" The hall grew quiet. Even the guards, who had been watching in silence, leaned closer to hear his answer. The human looked into her tired eyes and spoke calmly. "Because your daughter needed you. And because no one should be left to die when they can still fight." Tears welled in her eyes. Her lips trembled as she whispered, "You are different." The child pressed her face into her mother's shoulder, crying with relief. "I told you, Mom. He didn't leave us, he stayed, he saved you." The human looked at them both. In that moment he felt something stir deep inside him, a bond stronger than any law or tradition. He had not come to this world seeking family, but somehow, family had found him. Outside the hall, the crowd that had once shouted in anger now stood uncertain. Some whispered in shame, others in awe. The elder returned, his face pale with disbelief. He stared at the woman, alive and breathing, and for the first time, his voice faltered. This is against nature," he muttered. "She should not be alive." The human stood, his voice calm but sharp as steel. "You call it against nature. I call it humanity. We fight for life. We do not give up." The elder's lips tightened. He turned to the crowd. "This human has broken our law. He has defied our ways. He should be punished." But the crowd did not roar this time. Many lowered their heads, unable to meet the woman's eyes. Some even whispered, "He saved her. We saw it. She lives." The child stepped forward, standing bravely beside the human. Her small voice rang clear across the hall. "He is not a curse, he is our lifeline. Without him, my mother would be gone. If you punish him, you punish hope itself." Her words silenced them all. Even the guards shifted uncomfortably, unsure of which side to stand on. The elder clenched his fists, but he knew the truth. His people had seen a miracle, and miracles could not be erased. The human bent down to the child and her mother, his Voice softened. The world will still be hard for you. There will still be those who call you cursed. But you are not alone anymore. You have me. The mother's weak hand reached for his. Her eyes glistened with tears. You gave me back my life. I owe you everything. He shook his head. You owe me nothing. Just live. Live for your daughter, that's enough. The child clutched his arm tightly. Then stay with us. Don't leave us, please. The human's heart ached at her words. He remembered his own past. The sister he could not save. The family he had lost. And now in this strange world, fate had given him another chance. Another family to protect. He looked at them both, then nodded slowly. I won't leave you. That's my promise. The child's eyes filled with joy. The mother's lips curved into a fragile smile. For the first time since the night began, the hall felt warm, filled not with fear, but with quiet hope. Outside, the crowd began to disperse, some ashamed, others thoughtful. Whispers filled the air, not of curses, but of a human who stood against death itself and won. The elder, humiliated, turned away without another word. His power had cracked, his authority shaken. The guards lowered their spears and stepped back. No one dared challenge the human now. As the sun climbed higher, light poured into the hall. The human sat once more beside the mother and child. His body was exhausted, his strength nearly gone, but his spirit burned stronger than ever. The little girl leaned against him, her tiny hand gripping his sleeve. You saved her. You saved us both. You're our family now. The human placed a hand on her head gently. Then family we shall be. And in that moment a silent bond was sealed. Not by blood, not by law, but by choice, by the promise of one human who refused to walk away, and by the trust of a child who believed in him. The battle had been fought, the law had been defied, but life had been saved. And that was enough. The promise would carry them forward.